My name is Clara Tauson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Will Carlos Alcaraz be in the round of 16 before the end of this show?
What's the score?
5-4, first set. To Alcaraz.
Probably not. I mean, unless you're going to stay on after I leave, but probably not.
Yeah, I was thinking about 40 minutes. So if he wins 4-2, 4-1,
could be
kind of margin. He was a breakdown, by the way, and it started making me think, but I didn't check. Just that when he does lose, oh, wow, wonderful forehand there from Jetta. When he does lose, like crazily and surprisingly and shockingly, I'm thinking of Marozsan in Rome. I'm thinking of Botic van der Zandschulp as well. He does tend to just lose quite meekly, quite easily, right? Or am I? When he's close, he wins, right?
I mean, you didn't. Yeah, I mean, sure, the 5-set record, for example, but
Right.
I don't think you watched the Alcaraz documentary. But basically, it's said there by Ferrero, I think, and other people as well, that the like any injury, any physical problem, like for Carlos, it's kind of like game over. Like just can't play through stuff. That this is also something that he needs to be, that he basically needs to like figure out a little bit. And I think that also plays into it. Like not necessarily even physical nibbles with like the Botic loss, right? That was more mental. But against Fabi, that was more just fatigue from Madrid, I think, and switching to the conditions and everything. So, yeah, in a way, I mean, he kind of can't, at least for now, play when something is against him. And that's something sometimes is just like way too much for him to let's say, keep up the fight.
Nurlan's asking us a question about football, but I remember Nurlan about 2 months ago getting very annoyed with us because we were talking about football. Get on with the tennis, he said.
You mean the quiz where you were doing the quiz?
I know. Yeah. I would lean Barcelona, but I'm not really a fan of either, Nurlan. But if I had to choose, which often you do, really in Spain, I would lean Barcelona. Among those.
Yeah, I don't care for either, but I guess it's just like based on current teams. So right now, obviously, because of Szczęsny and Lewandowski, I lean towards Barcelona, but like that's really it.
Dudek would have been at Madrid and was a legend of the club.
4 matches, I think, but yeah.
Yeah, it's 4 more than I recall. Okay, so Alcaraz is now at 5-all. We'll keep abreast of that. I do want this mainly to be sort of looking ahead rather than looking back. But as you look ahead to matches such as Moutet against Draper, it's very important to look back. So let's begin by reflecting on Moutet's win over Holger Rune. Am I right in thinking that's the longest 3-set match of the year?
Yes, thus far. Of course, last year, pretty much I think there were 2 joint longest 3-set matches of the year on the ATP site. And one of them was also Moutet against Shank in Madrid, and we even chose it as one of our favorite matches of 2024. So, there were some similar feelings here for sure. I don't think it was as good. I don't think there was as much kind of like circus as in Madrid back then. Definitely not. The drama also wasn't quite there for the most part because like by the third set, Rune was pretty much dead. And it was only just that one game when Moutet was serving for it and he had 3 match points when suddenly it was close again. So in a way, I don't think it's as good, but obviously, yeah, it resonates. It's something that makes you reminisce that match from last year. Moutet is a crazy guy. Rune is just as well. And actually, for someone with a reputation for physical struggles, I checked and Rune has an excellent record in matches that go like above the 3-hour, 20-minute mark. He was like 7-2, I think, before this one. So not an easy thing to beat him. I think we've also said it multiple times that this guy is just like sometimes when Rune is dead, he's actually more dangerous. He just starts going for it. He has the talent to pull it off, has the talent to just pull off crazy shots without legs. Obviously, in that tiebreak, he missed a few like short balls, but considering the situation, considering the fatigue, they're not really like even bad misses. I mean, at that point, just couldn't play points like that. And yeah, I mean, what an amazing win for Moutet, regardless of whether he stumbled across the finish line or not.
Did he not feel that maybe Rune bailed out of the match point? I mean, he went for it on the backhand side and just missed.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't really have any other choice. The ball was
Yeah.
so short. Like, what is he going to do?
Yeah.
And it was a few points like this in the breaker, where he's attacking. Moutet is basically just giving him the ball back, and eventually he's going to miss. I mean, he was really, really tired there.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be a really tall order for him to replicate that win against Jack Draper. I'm talking, of course, about Moutet. Draper coming through today in straight sets. And I just think the energy levels and where Jack is at this year, I mean, Jack is going to be a hot favorite, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, is it the day off? I'm not actually sure what the tournament.
They will have a day off. Yes, they do.
I think they have a day off, right? Because the WTA is coming together tomorrow, and the ATP is going to be on Tuesday. Yeah, both halves. So, I mean, that's obviously helpful for him, but is it enough? I don't think so. We've had some issues, kind of like telling how players like Draper, Mensik are going to react moving from Madrid to Rome. I guess so far it's just kind of undecided. Like they just haven't faced anyone that is that good to like make them struggle. And I think in this case, we will probably have another match of this where like Jack moves through, but we will not actually be able to rate him against like, top level opposition in these conditions.
Yeah. The other thing is, I guess all Moutet could do, or I've not really seen Jack lose it. I've not seen him. He said, mention his on-court speech. Actually, he's familiar with Moutet, and I think he remembers him from maybe they came across each other before even he turned professional. I forget what he said exactly, but he was talking about something. But there's a bit of an age gap. I mean, how old is Moutet?
You have it on the screen. 3 years older.
So I don't think they would have come across each other in juniors, but
unlikely for them to battle in the juniors. But I mean, Moutet is a guy you remember. Obviously, you don't need to play him; you can just watch him, and you can basically be around him. And he's a guy you can't really forget, and also a very specific playstyle. Yeah, I mean, I think reaching sort of like rating matchups for players like this is difficult. Because how are you going to compare this? Like, what are you going to be looking at? How does Draper do against like Gaston maybe? But it's still not quite the same play style. And I can definitely imagine a world where Moutet just frustrates him because that's what he does. But considering the 4 hour or like 3 hour 45 match today might not be enough.
No, indeed. So I make, say Jack a pretty hot favourite there. Just Moutet just needs to make it as strange as possible. Try and get under Jack's skin, perhaps, but I don't think it'll be enough. I think the gap will be too significant for that to become relevant.
Took a set of Jannik Sinner last year at Roland Garros, didn't he? And he was just throwing in all sorts of weird stuff in there.
Did he take a set off Sinner?
I thought he did, no? It was like 6-1 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, it was weird.
It was crazy, yeah.
There was also a set that Jannik lost in New York that was kind of interesting.
To Mickelson,
yeah. Oh, it was a Mickelson, yeah. When the beginning, was that the first round, maybe?
Or McDonald? No, one of them, anyway. Well, American, for sure.
Yeah, it was McDonald.
Mickelson or McDonald.
I think he was setting a breakdown. And
possibly, yeah.
But it was like 1-love with a break, and it.
No, I guess Mickelson was an easier match then, right?
Yeah. Mickelson was straight sets, but I think maybe the first set went to maybe like 7-5.
Yeah, you're right. It was the first round. Yeah, sure.
Cool. All right. Well, anyway, Draper, Moutet coming up. Draper winning, of course, against Kopriva early today, having not too many problems there. Am I mispronouncing the name?
Yeah. It's Kopšiva.
Kopšiva. Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's that R with something.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's move on. We'll stay on the ATP side for now. I can see a question regarding the WTA. I think we will touch on that very shortly because when we come to Daniel Collins' match, for example, which I'll try and squeeze in before Damien leaves, then we can address a little bit of ego as well. So Vishal, just stay patient and we'll come to that question shortly. In the meantime, if you're not subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. Okay, cool. As I said, ATP, let's stay with that for now. Who else have we got? We've got Jannik Sinner. I know it's tomorrow rather than the next day, but I do want to touch on his match with Jesper de Jong, the lucky loser. Jesper, of course, is someone that we saw just was it last week or the week before? 10 days ago, I guess we saw him, didn't we, in beating João Fonseca, and now he's coming up with another stellar name in the game in the form of Jannik Sinner. I think João Fonseca is already a stellar name in some respects anyway. But yes, Jannik Sinner, of course, coming through in straight sets last night over Navoni. Were you surprised that Jannik had it that comfortably?
I mean, yeah, I guess it was comfortable. There was like one rebreak for Navona, but I mean, typically, what exactly do we expect Mariano to do against him? I guess it was just a matter of like, are we going to get Jannik in decent rhythm right away, or is the rust just too much? But I know there was that whole official thing about like him only being able to train from April onwards or something like that. But of course, that's not really how it works. So I did trust Jannik's ability to like get himself together to a point where he would probably be pretty comfortable there. But nonetheless, I don't think Navona was like a very easy opening round opponent.
No.
Yes, I mean, as you see on the screen, Australian Open last year.
Yes.
Not really a great match, and I'm afraid Jesper might just be like outgunned to that point too. We were saying that the first few rounds are very difficult for Jannik because you can get Navona, Davidovich Fokina, and Cerundolo in a row. Obviously, Jesper de Jong gave Davidovich Fokina just 2 games, so kudos to him for that. He's probably going to come out with a similar mindset as against Fonseca, right? In Estoril, just defend as hard as he can, throw in the drop shots, throw in the serve and volley, and not let Jannik play his game. I'm fascinated to see if it works out this time. I don't think he was playing like this in Australia when they played. I think he kind of tried to play Jannik at his own game and just failed. Obviously, later he had a much better encounter with Alcaraz, which maybe was also physical a little for Carlos. But I do think he was trying to play Jannik kind of very conventionally last time. So perhaps it will be a better idea and a better outcome for him now. A little better. I mean, I'm still not expecting him to win, but, just have some fun and, make it a more memorable affair.
Yeah, I think on clay, at least, he's probably got a slightly better chance, and also coming up against a rusty Jannik too. But maybe also those drop shots are a little easier to pull off on clay, where he might have a bit more time rather than on a quick hard court such as Australia. But of course, that was Jannik en route to the title there in Melbourne, and Jannik and his fans will be hoping similar things happen in Rome. But yeah, like you, I think maybe, of course, Jesper might want to come out the blocks firing, and maybe he can pull off the serve and volley. I just felt against João that was an obvious tactic. I think he'll do it again, but I just don't know if he'll have the same level of success. I just remember seeing Rocha in practice do some serve and volleys, and it was, I think he only won 2 games in their set that they had, the practice set with João, and I saw him do 2 serve and volleys, and he won both points. So that's why I was kind of intrigued to find out if Jesper had that in his locker, and he very much did, and he showed it in that win over João Fonseca, and I think we'll see it a bit more tomorrow. I don't think that we'll see the shock that perhaps we saw in Estoril, or surprise rather than shock is probably a better word for it than that. But yes, Jannik Sinner, I do expect to proceed. Anything else to say on this match before we move on?
Not really. I mean, I don't think the opponent matters that much with the serve and volleying. It's still more about the serve that you do. Of course, it's going to be on the kicker out wide for the most part. If it's good enough, I mean, I don't think it matters a great deal if it's Sinner on the other side of the net or not. But of course, Sinner, when he was back in shape, when he was back playing regularly, like he's returning, especially in terms of its like efficiency and precision. Yeah, it was insane. So, well, at least Jesper will definitely have to play the volley. That's for sure.
Okay, another match that's coming up in the round of 16, which I think is particularly interesting, is Casper Ruud will be playing against Matteo Berrettini. This is a repeat of their quarterfinal in US Open, I would say, 2022. I remember going to that tournament, landing in New York, and checking my phone and finding out that Casper Ruud had beaten Berrettini in straight sets, and I was shocked. I'm not remembering that. I think
no, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, it was a very dominant performance for sure. I was surprised too at the time. Probably the best match Casper played that fortnight, and kind of the one that legitimized the run, if you may. Because if not for that, I think a lot of people would be like putting an asterisk on that and just saying, he didn't play anyone of note, or like, the draw just kind of blew up. And that win was, I think, what kind of just solidified Casper's position. as a as a finalist there, and then obviously he was just two sets away from the world #1 ranking even.
Yeah, we might come back to that question in a minute, Nolan, but for now, we'll just stay on Matteo and Casper. So yeah, 4-3 is the head-to-head. I'm expecting some clay court wins for Casper on this list. Let's have a look. There's a Matteo Berrettini clay court win in Madrid, funny enough, when Matteo made the final there in 21. I think he lost to Zverev, didn't he, in that final, Berrettini? Yeah. But of course, Casper Ruud is coming into this tournament as the title holder and title winner in Madrid, having just won the title there. So, yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one. I think if everything is normal and everything plays out as I would expect, I would just lean Casper. But it does depend on how much he has in the tank. I think that might be more of an issue as he goes deeper in Rome rather than right now. Maybe in another 1 or 2 rounds from now, it might start to catch up with Casper. But given these 2-week Masters have such a gap, he would have played his final on Sunday, but then had 4 or 5 days off, with the exception of practice, before he has to play his first match in Rome. Any thoughts on this encounter with Berrettini?
I mean, if we discard fatigue, I think Casper is a pretty clear favorite on a slower clay court. Matteo also just retired in Madrid. I mean, his, let's say, health status is also pretty questionable, as always, really. Madrid 21, yeah, sure. I mean, that was a great run for him in Madrid. Yeah, sure. The conditions are a little better for him too. I see that the Rome encounter was close, but that was years back, so not really paying attention to that. Funny that they haven't played in a while. Nice that we're going to get this matchup, but yeah, I think you said something like in normal conditions, or if everything is normal, and if everything is normal, to me, Casper is the favorite here for sure.
Yeah, I can see it being close. I could see a third set happening or 2 tight sets, but I am going to lean Casper. Probably not quite as tight as that Rome encounter in 2020, but again, that's another feather in Casper's cap. But perhaps it's kind of funny how he's never made a Rome final. Not funny, but when you think about Medvedev winning the title here and Casper's never been in a Rome final, that doesn't quite make sense to me.
Yeah, was like a set and a few games away against Rune once, I guess.
Yes,
but
the
still,
year Medvedev won.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to lean Casper Ruud in this encounter. Okay, let's move on. We will come to the women, don't worry. I think I just had Moutet against Rune in the title and decided to begin with the men, but we will come to them, and we will, of course, be mentioning Milo Andreeva's straight sets win. No, we might not mention Milo Andreeva's straight sets win over Lindelof. It's just fresh in my mind. But anyway, okay, back to the men. Let's have a quick look at the draw so I can pluck another match of excitement, and that match is not going to be Giron against Hurkacz. Sorry, fans of either of those players. Let's go with Jakub Mensik against Fabian Marozsan. This would be the hipster's choice, I guess, right?
I think so, yeah. Marozsan, excellent ATP 1000 records. Obviously, the win over Alcaraz in Rome. Just beat Rublev for the second time this year, I believe. Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a threat to Mensik here. And kind of like I said previously with Draper, we were waiting for a chance to kind of see if the slow clay performances of Mensik will match what he did in Madrid, where he was obviously amazing, but a lot of that was based on serve. I think when I saw this graph of, the serve quality, backhand quality, insights and stuff like that, the serve, I mean, he was just outplaying every other quarterfinalist by a country mile. And the other ones, not necessarily, which made sense also on the eye test. Definitely the quicker conditions there, that was perfect for him. And after the match against Gigante, I still have a lot of questions in my mind. I think it's pretty much a 50-50 match. I imagine that obviously, in terms of the odds, bookies, market, and stuff like that, Mensik would be favored. But these never really look at conditions and things like that. This whole section looks pretty open, obviously, right now. And yeah, I think Marozsan Mensik, provided that Marozsan plays a decent match, because I guess for him, there's a bigger A game, B game disparity. Seems pretty open to me. I think even before the tournament began, right, we were just highlighting this section as one where literally almost anybody could win, because all the seeds have some question marks, some asterisks, and that still remains the case, even with Hurkacz and Mensik still there.
Mensik, of course, losing to Cerundolo in Madrid, having won the first set, but eventually went down in 3. Might well see a similar pattern in this one. I think it's really difficult to call this one, because I don't think Rome is exactly somewhere on the Mensik list of sort of tournaments where you would circle it at the beginning of the year going, that's where I think my breakout might come. That's where I think I've got the best chance of winning a 1,000. I would probably lean on clay a bit more on Madrid, perhaps rather than the other tournaments. One thing I do want to ask you is about Mensik. Yeah, on clay in general. His best performances and results have tended to come on hard courts, right?
First challenger title was in clay, but yeah, typically. I mean, of course, if you grow up in the Czech Republic, I don't remember if he's from Prostějov, or I think he might be from Prostějov, but basically, yeah, of course he knows clay. Of course he's played on it so much over the years. It's not like he's going to be terrible on it. Yeah, won a challenger, had some very good matches. But typically, yeah, especially as we go up the ranking ladder, I'd imagine that, well, first of all, the serve has been so crucial in his runs in Madrid, Miami, anywhere else too, especially now that he's like, at that 20 plus aces a match level, really, a lot of the time. And movement wise, I think he's perfectly fine, but still doesn't really want to be like, just stuck defending the entire time. That doesn't generally lead to good results for him. In Miami, it was so crucial as well that his forehand, which has some technical deficiencies, like he can just, cut it short, be confident with it. Tougher to do on clay when he has to generate all the pace himself. So I do think he is not going to be super strong in like Roland Garros, Rome, or something like that. But, he's still good enough to be in the mix, at least. I just don't think he's going to be winning these events anytime soon.
No, that's what I think too. I thought it was a really fascinating question that was posed by someone, and I apologize who that was that posed it. Oh, by the way, Alcaraz has won the first set. He was actually down a break, and Zverev was serving for the first set, and as soon as it went to a tie break, you're thinking, okay, this is only going to go one way, and it has. Yeah, it was a great question about, do you remember the question about Fonseca, or does Fonseca win his first, or does Mensik?
Yeah.
It was a really good question because there's so many different directions you can go with it. Or does Mensik, of course, win his second? I think I leaned with whoever was talking. It was you and someone else. Probably, I'm just going to say you and Brenner, but it might be,
I think, and also maybe. Probably Brenner. Yeah.
Okay, and maybe that might have been the epic with Carson as well. And I would probably just lean Mensik right now. I just think there's a few more tournaments where he's basically in the mix, and obviously Cincinnati was one that really sort of that. Now that is one that you would circle at the beginning of the Mensik year, or even right now, as being, yes, I think that's where I should really make sure I'm fit and firing and ready to go, because that might well be another situation where he's going super deep and maybe even the final if things work out. Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting question. Yeah, I think I would lean towards Mensik getting a second, but also partly because of where we are in the year, and even just where we are right now with Zhao, who's having a little blip with, I think, 3 losses in a row.
100%. I just think because we have Canada, Cincy, Shanghai, and Bercy coming up, at all of them, Mensik is in the mix. Fonseca, not this year. So I think for now, definitely makes sense, but no one will be surprised if, I don't know, Mensik doesn't win one for another 2 years and Fonseca wins, I don't know, whatever, Madrid next year. Like, it's a possibility too. But percentage-wise, I think it's slightly Mensik because of the fact that the best events for Fonseca have probably ended now. I think he might have a bit of a Cerundolo-like breakdown for now in terms of loving the first 5 Masters and not necessarily the next 4. Although Monte Carlo, Rome, I guess it also remains a little undecided.
Indeed. Hugo Dellien, I didn't know he was still in Rome.
Well, I mean, for a while,
I don't mean as a tourist.
Might not be as a as a lucky loser, definitely, and I believe even a lucky loser into the second round for Felix. So he defeated Thiago Seyboth-Wild in the second round.
Okay.
So for a while, even he thought that he was out of Rome, and now he is playing Alex de Minaur, which probably just means that, as usual, Alex de Minaur will win a few matches, then run into a very strong clay quarter and lose to him. So that's kind of like a typical Alex de Minaur run this swing.
I do think de Minaur has actually kind of surprised me a little bit this year, that he's probably maintained the heights that he reached last year. But yeah, I think that barrier, which I think may always be there for him, whereas players such as Musetti, Fils, and Cerundolo at the end of the year might be ranked below him, Rune as well, in the rankings, because they don't quite have that same consistency, at least not yet. And yet, on any given day, those guys can win big matches and big titles, I think, if not right now, very, very soon in the case of Artefis, for example. Let's come to Fils next. He's coming up against Zverev in the next round, a repeat, of course, of their Hamburg final of 2024, which was also, I think, mentioned in the matches of the year. Fils, of course, coming through against Tsitsipas today. Before we just sort of get into Fils and Zverev, I do want to reflect on that. And I think it was strange what happened at the net, because it looked like, that Tsitsipas was annoyed, but as it turns out, he was just it sounds like he was apologizing for the body shot that occurred midway through the second set, I think it was.
Yeah, definitely looked a little different from the TV angle. We were all thinking that it's a bit of a spat between the players. Clearly not. I think the umpire also probably thought that, considering he kind of came down and was trying to navigate things, mediate between them. But yeah, in the end, turns out it's nothing. It wasn't even like Steph being pretty angry, which he definitely was. Arthur, from 4-all in the second set, he just started playing insanely well, and to hit 140 average on the forehand for entire sets is insane. I was bringing up that Next Gen Finals tiebreak stat against Van Asch a couple of years back, when he was averaging 149 on the forehand for a tiebreak for 8 points, and that's incredible. But here it's just 9 kilometers lower on entire sets. And he also has a lot of energy, obviously, on the court. Feels, I think, when you start losing to someone like that from a lead, it might get very frustrating. And he kind of broke Stefanos' spirit. So it was natural as well to think that Stefanos might react in some way that obviously would just be hit of the moment. But yeah, it turns out it was nothing like that.
Yeah, Zverev, of course, as well, having a pretty routine win today. I think it was 4-0 against the qualifier Gauff. He was very complimentary about Gauff in his on-court speech afterwards, as you may expect. But things got better for him in the second set in particular, and losing just 4 games. I'm not quite sure where we are right now with Zverev. A bit like Stefanos. In fact, I'm a bit more down on Stefanos because I thought that things were picking up for Stefanos about 2 or 3 months ago, and they've just seemed to go back again. But Zverev, I'm just not sure what Zverev is going to turn up. If everything is normal, this should be an amazing match, and I would probably just lean Zverev. But really, very few things are with Zverev matches normal these days.
It's definitely a bit of a conundrum.
The Greek sport losses, maybe.
He won Munich, he won Munich.
He should win that, though. If you play Shelton in the final, he didn't have to play Cerundolo.
Sure, yes. But I think it was also recently that I saw this clip of someone asking a question to him on court, after the match. And he's like, he lost recently in the early rounds, right?
Yeah.
And Zverev was like a little unpleasant there, let's say, because he basically highlighted that Munich title. But to me, as I said before this tournament, he's still confidently ahead of the entire pack of chasers when it comes to Alcaraz and Sinner, of course, being the first 2 guys. And then there's that whole package of players ranked between, Zverev is number 2, but, soon number 3. So from 3 to, let's say, 30 or whatever. For me, at least in terms of the French, he is still confidently ahead of the pack, confidently the third favorite. Does that mean, though, that his level is much better than an Arthur Fils, who is playing well on the day? Absolutely not. It's pretty much the same, probably. So, I would love to see this match being close. We've had some dots between them. It's not like every single time it's good. But, of course, the Hamburg one was kind of like an example of what can happen if it goes right for both players. And, I'd love to see another encounter like this. And Fils is very capable of winning this. He's not the most, let's say, consistent, not the most, just player you can actually say, okay, today he's definitely going to play well. So I think, especially from his side, there's that danger, right? That he just comes out and has a horrible day at the office. Hopefully not, and we just get a classic. It's definitely a great matchup.
I think Zverev was still just feeling some of the effects of that knee injury. I remember some of his backhands didn't seem to be anywhere near as venomous as normal, and a couple of errors on that just could well have made the difference that day in terms of winning the title or not. That's how close, of course, that match was. It went to a 3rd set tiebreak in northern Germany last year, albeit that tiebreak was won comfortably with a loss of just 1 point from Fils. I expect a similarly tight affair tomorrow, and I'm hoping, actually, I think it might be the day after tomorrow, sorry. I'm hoping for some fireworks like we had in Hamburg. Of course, there was a little bit of needle between the 2 players at various points. Feast does sort of have that in his locker, if you like. Not quite Moutet levels, but it's certainly heading in that direction. But he's also extremely entertaining. I remember Feast cupping his ear a few times to the crowd, of course, that were very vociferous in their support of Zverev. There was what was it? Was it a line call or something that there was some needle between the two? And it was still the case at the net exchange, but I remember by the time they did their speeches and everything, it was all forgotten and dusted down. But yeah, that was a fractious affair in some respects, and who knows, we might see some fireworks in this particular encounter. But I think I'm going to go with Zverev to get some revenge. What about you?
I don't really see like any point of predicting the winner here, because especially with Fields, it's just such a lottery. Even the match against Tsitsipas, he gets heavily outplayed and he just like turns it on, and the match is done in literally like 5 minutes. The match went from him barely hanging in to just done. Tsitsipas is just finished. So I think very much you can see something like this here too. And Miami was kind of like that too. He's not really threatening Zverev, and then he just turns it on, and then yeah, it's kind of over. So maybe if he plays smart again, if he is on it, I think he definitely can beat Alexander Zverev. But whether he does have that level on the day, it's a complete lottery to me.
Let's go for one more on the ATP. I know I've only got you for 12 more minutes, but let's get Musetti, Daniil Medvedev, because I think it's certainly in terms of names, is a really big affair, and two top 10. Is Medvedev top 10? He's seeded 10, but I'm just wondering if we're missing someone from the top 10.
Djokovic, so we're missing Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, so he probably is just outside the top 10 right now.
I believe he's 11th, yes.
Yeah. Coming up against Lorenzo Musetti. Musetti, of course, in his homeland. Things are not going to get very easy for the Italians, as you can see from this section of the draw as well. So Fils or Zverev plays the winner of Musetti or Medvedev. Musetti coming through in straight sets against Nakashima today. Was Nakashima hurt at some point during that match, by the way?
I don't know.
Anyway,
not
Medvedev.
Exactly my cup of tea.
No, I know.
He's
on the Nakashima's, I think, on the list for.
Yeah.
Where is this? Bordeaux?
He is playing in Bordeaux. He's the top seed in Bordeaux.
Yeah, I saw that today. Hi, Ashley, as well. Hi, Nerlan. Hi, Ghosty. Please do hit that like button. Capricorn BG, I think you said you were feeling a bit sick, so hopefully you get better soon. And also, in the meantime, hit the like button. Okay, Musetti Medvedev. Yeah. What are your thoughts? I think Medvedev may be a little bit lucky with the draw as well. Popperin in the previous round on this surface, and Popperin, whose form from the top of my head doesn't seem to be doing much since winning that Masters 1000 last year.
Yeah, 2023 UMAG champion, but yeah, I mean, on clay, he's a little bit of a mess. Yeah, sure. I mean, Musetti just has all the options in the world on clay. Daniil kind of doesn't. It feels like every single Medvedev event right now is just, he plays a decent match or two, but then it all comes to a pretty sudden stop, like, what Alex de Minaur did to him in Madrid. Yeah, just no fight there. We might see another match like that. I don't know. Like with Medvedev right now, it also feels like predictions are too redundant, because he has a poor event, like in terms of conditions for him, like Indian Wells, and he does well. And then he shows up in Miami, and we're thinking, oh, this is the event where he gets one back, and he loses to Jaume Munar in straights. Interesting head-to-head for sure, but obviously both of these matches hard courts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably wouldn't look too much at that. Maybe grass could be kind of like where they meet and the chances are split, are even. But on clay, I mean, I kind of have to favor Musetti. Same way, like you mentioned, de Minaur. I think it's a similar way in that, Musetti just has so many tools. He sometimes gets lost in them. But if he does sort of find the best plan and keep going with it and use all his variety wisely, he is the favorite over Medvedev on clay. Gotta be.
Yeah, and they're head-to-head, by the way. As you say, grass, I don't know which way it would go. It depends on maybe who's in the best form. But you would imagine that come the end of their careers, if they play each other 3 times on clay, Lorenzo wins at least 2 of them. And if they play each other 3 times, let's say, on a hard court, well, Medvedev has already won the first 2. And you would probably lean that way. Although right now, maybe you have a bit less faith in Daniil, sadly, in terms of his form. But yeah, I'm going to go with Lorenzo here. I just think the clay court prowess that he has and the tools he have on this surface, despite Daniel's protestations the other day to say actually he now likes clay and moves better, but I don't think he could move much worse than he than he did when he initially arrived on the surface. So yeah, I'm leaning Lorenzo. Let's zoom over to the women's side of things. And I'm going to pluck a couple of matches here. Let's go with Coco Gauff against Emma Raducanu. Gauff and Raducanu. Raducanu, of course, coming through today, losing the first set 7-5 to Kudermetova before then losing just one game over the two following sets. I think it was 11-1 or 1-11. I'm not sure which way around it was. I don't want to get too carried away with Raducanu. I know that we've done that before, and I think we've all been burnt by it. And I'm talking about in the last 4 years since winning the US Open. It's like Raducanu's back. I know there's a lot of people getting quite excited about her movement on the surface. Again, Kudermetova is not bad. You know, listen, I remember Iga Swiatek in 2023 in the mixed zone in Madrid saying basically, listen, she can't move on clay. So this is regarding Kudermetova, and she'd just beaten her in the semis there. And Iga's not going to say too many bad. And she wasn't mean. It just sort of came out the way she said it. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, by the way. So, you know, if we're comparing Raducanu on the clay to Kudermetova on the clay, well, maybe Emma is, as she displayed today, the better of the two on the surface. But against Coco, well, if she wins this one, then I'll have to be reevaluating my thoughts. But yeah, what about you? What are you thinking about Coco and Emma in general?
I remember their Australian Open match. It was like kind of funny because everybody was saying it's trash because of the winners' unforced errors. It's like, 10 winners, 40 unforced errors for Emma or something like that. But I actually think the match was pretty good. I mean, obviously she couldn't hit through her eventually, but she was making a good effort. On clay, though, that maybe might be even more difficult. I mean, Coco obviously, just had a good win in Madrid over Iga, or good win. I mean, she was handed the match, but still confidence builder for sure. Can't beat Arina in the final, but that's okay. Seems to be pretty much flying. I know she had like some sort of MTO in her previous round, but it was seemingly just her, injuring her leg, but not in the sense that it would keep up. It's just like, I don't know, some blood or whatever. So I don't think it's a concern. Well, Emma, yeah, as you said, I mean, it's important to remember that we shouldn't just like say, oh yeah, she's gonna win a slam in a moment. Is she, when playing well, still like a top 30-ish level player right now? Sure, I don't doubt that, but I haven't really seen any indication that she's gonna be like beating top guns left and right, not since the US Open run at least. And yeah, I mean, in these conditions, I don't know if I quite buy it. But, obviously one of the most kind of like, let's say, media heavy matchups, right? Because both of them have so many sponsorships, deals, and basically are among the most popular players on the planet.
Yeah, cool. All right. But so therefore you could probably guess I'm thinking that Coco is a warm favorite here. I think that'll still rank as a pretty good tournament for Emma, even if she goes out, especially if she has some honor in that.
It's already good. Yeah, it's already good.
Yeah. I just don't think we'll ever probably have an Emma Raducanu in a French Open final, for example. I mean, we might not ever have her in a Grand Slam final again, full stop. I just think it's so difficult to say with Emma because I think I've changed my mind a few times. And so now I just stop making calls in terms of her career, at least until I see some consistency.
No, I mean, but Roland Garros is obviously the least likely.
Exactly. If you said to me she's going to be in a Wimbledon final one day, yeah, okay, all right,
why not?
Fine.
I mean, she was in the fourth round last year, quarters before. Yeah, I mean, it opened up. I mean, quarters she made before, right? No,
I thought it was fourth round.
Oh, maybe it was fourth round as well. Yeah, when she had these was like panic attack or something like that against Tomljanovic. Yeah, sure, that was fourth round, and Tomljanovic played Barty in the quarters. Yeah, so a couple of fourth rounds.
Yeah, so there's another deep run there, and may even be this year. Who knows? But yeah, Roland Garros is always going to be the more difficult one. All right, I want to get at least one more women's match in. Let me just have a quick look. Oh, I tell you what we'll do. We'll do Mira Andreeva and maybe Daniel Collins. I'll think about it in a second. But first of all, let's have a look at Mira Andreeva against Clara Tauson. Tauson had a great come-from-behind win today against Navarro. She looked like she was just a bit short in that first set, 6-3. I thought it was one of the matches I did see today. I also watched Mira Andreeva's match as well. Of course, she had not quite a come-from-behind situation, but she was down a break to Noskova. It sort of felt like Mira was kind of more in charge. I was starting to think as well during that match, and I have thought about this before. I don't know if there's a player on the WTA tour who can turn defense into attack as well as anyone, as much as Mira Andreeva can. Now, that might be because players such as Aryna Sabalenka are pretty much always on the front foot from the beginning of the point, let's say, and somebody like Coco might be on the back foot perhaps, and whatever, and Emma has her style, and everyone else has their style. I'm just thinking of Emma as I see on the screen right now. But Mira Andreeva can look like she's down in the point, and then suddenly she's up in the point pretty quickly, maybe just with one shot, that squash shot that she loves. I don't know anyone else that can pull that off as well either. So yeah, you can probably tell I'm pretty excited about Mira right now.
Yeah, I mean, she's probably the only player of her playstyle in like the top 10, or yeah, maybe you can compare Coco, but she's way more like versatile, not quite as agile, not quite as fast for sure. The first serve is, well, actually getting to be pretty close in terms of being a bomb as well. But yeah, I mean, she beat Clara Tauson twice on the way to the WTA 1000 titles this year. Dubai, obviously, in the final, Indian Wells third round. I don't really know how Rome would increase the chances of Clara. So, yes, I mean, I'm not going to go as far as say that, like, she's cooked, she's done, but it's looking difficult. Andreeva just has so many options, and she'll have even more time, even more potential to, just mitigate the damage of some of the Tauson big ball striking. So it's not looking great. I mean, Clara needs to find something quickly. Interesting point as well from Ghosty. Yeah, I wouldn't have looked at that, but that also makes sense, sort of. Yeah.
I think I can see Clara maybe taking a set, but ultimately for me, Mira all the way. And I think there's big things coming even as soon as this year for Mira Andreeva. I mean, she's already obviously achieved a lot.
Yeah, they've already come. I mean, she's
yes,
gonna be
I
like
know.
She's already year, 100%.
I think she's basically ticked off the objectives really for the year in a way. I mean, anything else is a bonus. I mean, it doesn't quite work like that. So if she has a barren spell for the next 6 months, we might look at things differently. But top 10, winning a 1000 at her age is just wild.
2 1000s.
2 1000s, yes, of course, in quick succession.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, number 3 or 4 in the race alongside Świątek, and we all know that Świątek's season is controversial, to say the least. Madison Keys is ahead, but that's probably going to, even out in the favor of Mira soon. Of course, Maddie is already out of this event, and she is in. So, yeah, I mean, you could argue she's the second. Well, actually, I think she's easily the second best player of the season right now behind Sabalenka.
Yeah. Okay, one more match. Let's get this one. Svitolina, Daniel Collins. Obviously, the narrative regarding Danielle is very much ego related, which is probably the main reason.
I don't think I can. I think I got to leave. Yeah.
You got to leave, have you? Okay, no worries.
I have a train basically lined up, and if I miss it, it's like 30 minutes by now. No,
go,
it's a train. It's a small train. It's to Gdańsk, but anyway, I probably have to leave right now.
Take care. Okay, so I'll have a quick look at Svitolina Collins before we wrap up. I'll do this solo. Daniel Collins, of course, coming through yesterday against Iga Świątek. Do let me know your thoughts on Iga right now in the chat. I've had quite a few questions. In fact, we can go right back to the beginning of the show with, hello, what's wrong with Iga Świątek? Well, that's a very blunt way of putting that question. I did predict at the beginning of the year that maybe she might find things a bit tough. I think she's going to drop to 4 in the rankings as a result of that straight sets loss to Danielle. Maybe this is the most worrying of all these losses that she's been having. Take Madison Keys, for example. Let's not forget it was still equaled her best ever result in Australia, and Australia may always be one of the tougher slams for her, of course, if you compare it to the French Open and even the US Open, which she's won in the past. Whereas, of course, Australia's always been difficult for her. Wimbledon, I think, will remain that case as well. But look at my predictions for the year end. I think I had her at 5. And I think, and I will repeat this, although I got killed on Twitter for saying this a few weeks ago, I just think Iga has even been a bit fortunate that the players with any kind of consistency on the tour have been outside the top 10 at the beginning of the year. And I'm thinking of particularly of Mira Andreeva, Madison Keys as well. Those are the two sort of other players as well as Sabalenka that have shown any kind of form. Whereas Gauff, Rybakina, Zheng, for various different reasons, Pegula as well, have all been pretty inconsistent. And therefore, Iga's managed to hold on to that 2 ranking for much longer than I would expect. But now she's going to slip to number 4, and I think that's probably more or less where she'll be seeded for the upcoming French Open, unless she takes a wild card for Strasbourg or something like that. But yeah, let me know what you think. I say, so it's got Daniel Collins' backhand was absolute fire yesterday, as it can be. I remember in the prediction show I did with Brenner, just not quite. I was basing actually a lot of my thoughts on that match about Danielle rather than Iga, and I just thought Danielle on a slow clay court against someone of Iga's level. And this is also Danielle that hadn't shown in 2025 some of the flashes of brilliance that she showed in 2024. And yet yesterday, she certainly was able to do that. People asking questions about Wim Fissette. I actually found her response in a press conference, Iga, in the build-up to Rome, not the most convincing regarding the situation with Wim Fissette. But we'll see. I think it would be unfair to judge it just yet. I think we need to probably wait for the rest of this season. But yeah, I think there's doubts. And there's certain members of the team that are rock solid, let's say, and I don't think she has any intention of dispensing with them. And there are others that come into the team and are immediately under scrutiny. And of course, Wim very much fitting that. Anyway, Daniel Collins proceeds, beating Iga Swiatek, will come up against Svitolina. Svitolina, I think, is pretty much an all-court player, and did they play each other in? I'm just going to have a quick look at their head-to-head, actually. Collins head-to-head. But yeah, so Daniel, of course, last year made the final in Strasbourg before losing to Madison Keys there. And their head-to-head is... We're on the WTA website right now. 2-1. But of course, the WTA website, I've got to air of frustration here. They've changed things around a bit. I don't think it's any better than it was before, and it probably cost an arm and a leg to do so in terms of this rebranding and certain other things they've changed. But the frustrating thing is the matches. So there's 3 matches they've played, and I would love to know when and where they were and how they panned out, but we don't have them on the WTA website. They've just decided to just tell us the score, but not tell us how we got there, which is, yeah, it's annoying. So it's 2-1. Let's see if I can find an alternative website that might actually tell us where those matches came. See if they played each other on clay. I don't think they have, but we'll see. Maybe someone in the live chat can remind me of a potential clash they had on clay. I thought I disappeared for a second, but I'm back. Yeah, Collins versus Svitolina head-to-head. Let's have a look. Oh, I see Alcaraz is very much in charge of this match now against Zverev. Didn't quite manage to get the job done before Damien left. Okay, 2-1, as we know. This website's not helping me either. So the head-to-head for this is, as I said, 2-1. So this will be the 4th time they play each other. It looks like Svitolina is a pretty warm favourite with the bookmakers. I would probably echo that, especially on this surface. They've never played each other on clay. The last time they played each other, Svitolina won in straight sets, 2-4, just recently actually at Indian Wells. But yeah, they've never played each other on clay. So Svitolina's won their most recent encounter, and they've yet to play each other on clay. And I do fancy Svitolina more on this surface than Daniel Collins. But Ghosty is desperate to see a Stearns-Collins quarterfinal. I think Stearns is playing Osaka, right? So the winner of that. But Osaka against Collins could be fun too. But yeah, well, we'll see. I think Svitolina will have other ideas, and she may well get the job done in straight sets when they play each other tomorrow. But anyway, on that bombshell, I think it's time to wrap things up. We've lost Damien, and now we're going to lose myself. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Please, if you're watching right now on YouTube, there's a button that says like, and I really want you to hit that. There's also a button below the screen that says subscribe. I'd love it if you are not a subscriber to hit that too. There's also another button somewhere that says join if you want to become a member. And you can become a member and get some wonderful, wonderful perks, including extra bonus interviews and footage and so many other wonderful things. And in fact, let's play you the membership video now as I say goodbye. But here is our little promo to how to become a member and why it's a cool thing. Hey, thanks for taking the time to, well, you haven't got any choice, actually. I'm just talking at you, if you like. But I'm here also to present to you why I think it's not a bad idea and not that expensive as well if you become a member. And this is how you can do it, and this is what you can gain. So if we look here at the Talking Tennis sort of homepage, if you like, on YouTube, we can see this little button here which says join. It is also pinned in the live chat as well, and you can also, I think, see it just below most of our videos, certainly the live ones and so on. Now, why is it a good idea to join and become a member? Well, in the live chat, you can add little funny things, you can add emojis and all sorts of things, but possibly more importantly, you can get to access some live videos, such as this one here, where we look back on the last sort of few moments from the Billie Jean King Cup. So there are little bonuses such as this one, but there are many, many more. And in fact, if we have a quick look at all of the members only stuff, I repeat, you will see very, very quickly some of the top stuff that we've had for members only over the last 12 months since the channel began. Remember, these videos are for members only. You can become a member from as little as about $2 a month, €2 a month, £2 a month, something like that. There are various different things. Oh, and by the way, you'll also be supporting the channel. So it's a win-win-win-win scenario. Let me just show you some of the members only stuff. For example, we've got an exclusive little clip there talking to Laura Siegmund, Laura Tsurenko, her encore interview, some doubles footage there from Monastir, the Germany press conference pre-tournament Billie Jean King Cup, Claire Burrell talking as well to the media in her press conference in Monastir, Storm Hunter and Alicia Parks interview, Rebecca Masarova, her press conference, Coco Gauff exclusive for members only, albeit it was in Madrid, but these are just some of the things, some of the interviews and etc. Like Lestien here, a chat with him, Emma Navarro, and so on and so forth. So many little bonus videos available for just €2 a month. So, what are you waiting for? Become a member. Or don't. It's okay. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.